get me, you get the dog. Look, she's happy to see you. Get a dog.
Yeah.
I honestly, excuse me, my life philosophies. For practical reasons.
Hi everyone, we are 3 GP1 students from UWC CSC.
For this video, we have Zachary and Rhi. Zachary is a theater teacher, the head of art department, and also the supervisor for Spectrum. Rhi is our English teacher and also the supervisor of Swimming Academy.
We have a nice conversation with them, and we talk about past UWC experience and memories and their life philosophies. So enjoy the video.
No, you've been here longer, you go first.
I've been here so long.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time I ever came here was back in January of 2015 or 16? 2016 maybe. And the school is a very different place. There were only 127 students, and so it was like a ghost town. Even with COVID and shutdown here, the campus is like completely different. You saw nobody ever, anywhere, and it was kind of spooky. And then the school sort of like burst into humans like every year after that. Like the next year they added 150 students, and then it doubled again the year after, and so the school just kept growing and growing. But it was really nice to have such a tiny number of people because we got very, very close very quickly. And I remember coming just to visit because one of my UWC teachers was one of the founding members here, and I was just visiting China and therefore visited him. And I hadn't been back to a UWC in like 8 years at that time, and so it was really nice stepping into an environment where it felt very familiar without ever having visited here, because everyone was just very UWC-ish, like all of these little intellectual weirdos.
I can share a memory that I have. One memory for me is at the first Christmas meal and concert. Was maybe the first time I'd seen the whole community come together properly and celebrate a particular event. And I remember being in the dining, what do we call it, the canteen, and they were playing the Spanish version of Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. And I just remember, I have a memory of one of my students who was from Mexico singing really loudly, and I just remember the energy was like next level. And then we had the Christmas concert, and I just felt really part of something then, and that was a really nice memory that I have. And even though Zachary said that when he first got here it felt like a ghost town, but also it was easy to get really close, I found that when I first got here anyway, like relationships were forged really quickly. I don't know, it's kind of environment that does that.
Yeah, stuck in the little Chengdu bubble.
Yeah.
Favorite place on campus? My bedroom, away from everyone. Honestly, my favorite place is the black box. It's sort of like my home away from home. It's where I have all my classes, where I've done so much theater. It's where I have so many just memories. Because the black box, it's as an academic space, it's so separated from the rest of the school and the rest of classes, and so it's nice to have that private, safe space where, like, I get to be in charge.
I get up and walk the dog every morning, or dogs if there's other dogs, and so I've watched a lot of sunrises from this first bridge over here. And also I walk every morning down to so it's not on campus, but it's campus adjacent. So I walk down to the temple down the end there, which is bright yellow, and there's always chanting going on at 5 a.m. in the morning or 6 a.m. And then the blossoms come out in spring. It's just really beautiful. So I really love my dog walks because they also wake me up and prepare me for my hectic teaching day.
So, okay, you don't have to be from this like massive, diverse national population or ethnic population to be UWC. It's not the diversity that makes UWC, it's a mindset and an attitude. When And this question has not just come up at CSC, it's been a question that I think literally comes up every year at each UWC campus. When I was a student in 2007 on the USA UWC campus, we had a group of anonymous students kidnap the bust, the statue of Nelson Mandela, and hold him ransom, and posted all of these posters around campus of like, we are not living out the UWC mission, this is not a real UWC. And so I don't think it's unique to the CSC campus of like questioning what it means to be UWC. In terms of answering what is UWCness, I mean, we've got these like 9 values that sort of set the ideal, but I think the best answer that I was given was during a Thanksgiving one year, 2008. Everyone has this ideal, that, like this mindset that like if you go to UWC then you're going to be like a politician or a lawyer, and you have to go into like this big international business and like get these like high ranking positions and profiles. And I stayed with an alum who was like a hairdresser, and we had Thanksgiving at her place, and she was like, well, to me UWC is taking these values and incorporating them into all aspects of your life. And so like always approaching things critically, but being a welcoming and inclusive person. So always welcoming and trying to understand the perspectives of people. And her as a hairdresser, she meets so many people and from so many walks of life, and really like expressed that concept. And aside from just like hairdressing, she also like in her backyard had all of these like rescued animals. So this is like wilderness in New Mexico, and so she had like red-tailed hawks and falcons and snakes and all of these like endangered animals, like these animals that were sickly that she just rescued in her spare time. And that for me was both like a practical and a conceptual way for me to understand like what it meant to be UWC. That there's no singular definition, but it's about living life through these values and spreading them and sharing them. Your turn.
Yeah, thanks. I just actually, this is very tangential, but in Australia they're looking to train hairdressers to spot signs of like domestic violence, because often their hairdressers are the closest they can get away from their abuser. So in any role you take in a community, you can play a part. I think for me UWCness is about community and being engaged in the community that you've chosen to be part of, because it's really easy to be in any community but this one and sort of take a back seat or make academics your priority. But I mean, the 3 of you are a good example of not doing that. But as teachers as well, we have that choice, and I think the more I've put myself into the community, the more I've developed those relationships and been able to see what everyone is capable of outside of a classroom context or an academic context.
I mean, you look at the selection process. If you when you're interviewing for UWC as an interviewer, if you're only looking for the same type of person and everyone's looking for the same archetype of a person, it would be such a tedious, boring school if you just like picked from column A and didn't have the rest of people represented. I do like the selections for New Zealand as well, and it's always, we're looking for a diversity of opinions. We're not necessarily looking for someone who agrees with us, but someone who has a perspective and has a point of view and is ready to engage and like change or critically think about their own values and opinions, as well as like think about and listen to yours as well. Like, it's just the idea of like, you need to have your own perspective. You can't sit through life expecting to be filled with information, that you have to like go out and engage with that process as well.
Yeah, and that's why being a teacher anywhere is exciting, is meeting students or young people who do have opinions and are able to form new ones based on the material that you give them in class or the experiences they get to engage with in the community. And I feel like, and I've said this to you, that I've had a mini UWC experience as a person myself, because I don't think, I've never worked with such a diverse group of colleagues, for example, and so I have had my own points of view confronted and had to question them and reflect on certain aspects of where I've come from. So yeah.
The easier question is like, has there been a single moment that has not been challenging? like this is it's not an easy place to live in. Both this campus, both this community, in Changshu, the larger context of China, every aspect of being here is like a place of discomfort, but I also think that's why it attracts a certain personality in terms of teaching staff here, is that there's a sense of comfort in discomfort, whether it's language or cultural barriers, whether it's academic differences or just like different value systems. Every day is a new challenge. Every day there's something that I can either complain and whine about, and I complain and whine about a lot, but it's also like acknowledging it and how do I address that? How do I incorporate that into my life, or how do I understand it through my values and then move beyond it and become a better person and help my community be a better community?
I'll give a much easier answer than that.
It's like, yesterday I was really tired.
Every day. For example, after we had the international students sent home, we had this really strange timetable where we were working late at night.
I changed my answer, that one.
Yeah, where we'd do a class at like 10 or 11 p.m. for our students overseas, and that was a difficult time. But that's just one of the challenges we have had to put up with.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. There was a semester, I think both of us had classes that we met in person with students within the regular workday, which was like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we had our online lessons with students from usually like either 9 p.m. until my final class finished at 1:30 a.m. And that was just the regular sort of weekly schedule, but it was something unavoidable. Our students were scattered, not by choice, all around the world, and so
and like advisory as well. Do your on-campus advisory, then your off-campus advisory. But that was fine because, you know, these relationships, like I said, were initially forged very quickly in 5 months, and so it felt very necessary to continue to support them in all of their random circumstances.
And for me, it's been like a really cool thing sitting in the office, in the arts office, surrounded by like China, INRA, and OneLight, because they all come from such a distinctly different sort of cultural context than I do, and so understanding relationships and family and marriage, like my ideas of what a relationship should look like, or sort of the openness that we should have, often comes into conflict of the lived experience by some other people, and it's really broadened my view of not instantly sort of criticizing something that's not as open as I think it should be, and understanding that there's a whole set of values and culture that comes with that. No, this is sorry, maybe you did, but like me being here, I think it's just like a complete accident. I remember when I graduated UWC, like I loved my time as a student there, but I was definitely ready to like move on. Did not think I would ever sort of visit, or I didn't think I'd be a teacher. Never thought I would teach theatre, and I never thought I'd be back at UWC. And then I've just been here for the last 6 years. So it just tells me that I'm an idiot. I know nothing about myself.
Yeah, that is an accident plus accident and plus accident.
But I think that's another great sort of philosophy and way to live, is just if someone gives you an opportunity, say yes. Yeah. Take it.
Yeah. Oh, that's my piece of advice for students, is that, but also this comes from a relatively privileged point of view, is that things will work out. If the dream school or whatever that thing was didn't work out, whatever the option is that presents itself will present a whole world to you. You just have to be open to it. And yeah, not having a plan is great. What was the question? Oh, about being a teacher. No, I think I'm just a teacher because my mum was a teacher, and her mum and dad were teachers, and I didn't know what else to do.
Teacher by default?
Yep.
Teacher by default, teacher by accident. Here's your renowned UWC faculty.
But we also have outstanding personalities, so it makes us great teachers.
That is true.
It's, excuse me, my life philosophies. For practical reasons, the dog, having a dog gets you out of bed every day. And honestly, sometimes, not just being a teacher, but being a teacher is hard. Being a teacher here is exhausting. And it does have, I mean, Zachary has his own way of getting out of bed. But for me, having a dog is one way to get me out of bed, out of school. It's very easy to get stuck in a place. Here it's your bubble. And even just being able to walk out through the gate every day with her is always a good break, seeing as we live 2 minutes from our offices. So it's not a very complex life philosophy, but...
I didn't think I had a life philosophy until sort of people keep asking. And I really, truly, firmly believe that like a healthy body is a healthy mind, and that there is no separate, like you cannot sit in front of a computer and do work and work and work, or sit in a space and study and study and study. You need to have this balance between looking after your body as a physical vessel as well as an intellectual vessel. And the more attention that we put both in, like we should give an equal attention to how much we look after our health physically, and that helps to nurture our health mentally.
Zachary and I started running together for a while. Zachary's always good at getting people out and getting them to do stuff. He runs stretches every morning.
Every morning, 7 a.m., an hour-long stretch to start the day.
Yeah.
I used to wake up, like 10, 15 minutes before class, and quickly wash your face, throw on some clothes and go to class, but your brain takes such a long time to catch up to where you are, and stretching every morning, it's not mentally taxing, and it's not physically that difficult either. It's a lot of just like breathing and sitting in a position. But by the end of it, after the 40 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever is done, you're sort of like prepared for the day, and it just like helps establish that routine and get you ready to think. Yeah, same as walking the dog. No, same thing. Like literally the same thing.
And you can plan your lessons while you're doing them.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah, don't come to class and breathe on me.
Use deodorant. Brush your teeth. Take a shower. Hold on, let me think.
Don't wear those shoes.
Okay.
I think that's already become some part of the UWCness.
That's like the uniform here.
Yeah.
Socks and those slides. Are you wearing?
I'm wearing shoes
got
today.
shoes today.
Okay, advice.
It's good to have an opinion.
The school is not the IB. There are so many opportunities here. Okay, my advice is, this place is not going to give you everything. This place is not going to give you anything. You're going to get out of this place as much as you put in. So if you want a party, if you want a workshop, if you want an event, if you want any of this to happen, go out and make it. We have the resources and the support here ready for you. And as sort of the adult, the faculty or staff adults here, we're not going to build this whole perfect place for you to just come to attend. We have the resources and the knowledge. It's about what you want to make this place. It's the people that make the place, not the place making the people. If you are bored here, you're just a boring person. Not kidding. Oh god! Don't put that in. But it's true. My plan is to not have a plan. I am intentionally and deliberately not doing anything for a year. From here, I'm going to go travel, see some friends that I have not been able to see because of COVID. I've spent the last 16 years living outside of New Zealand, where I'm from. And so I've got a lot of international friends that I just haven't had a chance to visit in the last couple of years. So we'll travel for 4 or 5 months, go home to my family that I have not lived with for half my life, and reintroduce myself to them for a few months, and then maybe move to Australia. But for me, the idea is to relax, to sort of center myself, get back in touch with what gives me joy, what makes me happy.
Wow.
What are you doing?
I've got a job in Singapore, so it's sort of a step closer towards home, back to Australia, because it's definitely much easier to go back and forth. But I wasn't quite ready to go home, and I'm moving to a school that is sort of IB and what's the other one? IG, CSC, A levels, but there's also multiple pathways, so it's not as academically rigorous. There's opportunities for a possibly more diverse student body, which should be good. And also Singapore's got a lot going on, and you could move to Singapore. I'm gonna bring her with me.
That is a well-experienced dog.
She's from Macau, and now she's come here, and now she's gonna hopefully go to Singapore. Well,
Yeah, more rigorous life than many people. Do a dance.
we did a dance last year for Faculty Follies. You can go and watch that.
Anything else to share? Make more art.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
There are a lot of like traditions that were started in the school, such as the murals in the parking garage, that I'm really hoping students like pick back up. I know that you're like returning with the murals in the library, and I think that's a fabulous like next step. But I think it's so great to like leave your mark on the school in an artistic way, and the murals are such a sort of simple method for that.